Total
This
lie.
is
I'm
public
sorry.
information.
He got
Look
what he
up,
wanted.
go
He
look
got an agreement from our neighbors to do more on the border. That's what he wanted.
So what about old Donald Trump's tariffs? He told everyone it was the most beautiful word in the English language while he was campaigning. So should we be surprised that he uses them liberally in his foreign policy? And do tariffs really raise prices? Let's explore. The answer to the latter, at least in the short run, is definitely yes. Prices will rise if tariffs are imposed. It adds to the costs, which are mostly passed on to the consumer. So, should we as Americans be mad that Donald announced that they would be imposed on Canada, Mexico, and China? I'm going to argue the answer is no. I can immediately hear some of you questioning. So you're in favor of inflationary prices, you say? Well, let's examine what might be good governance for the United States. It often means taking a long-term view of safety, security, the economy. If you take something of critical importance, like say, for example, antibiotics or steel, and move that manufacturing base abroad to a low-cost environment like China, suddenly you become vulnerable to their whims. You are granting them leverage. Now, imagine that we get into, and I do not want this, a war. Where is the steel going to come from? Will China be shipping it to us while we're trying to manufacture weapons to destroy them? And suddenly you have civilians dying in hospitals of treatable infections? Because do you think that China is going to ship the antibiotics or try to weaken us? You impose tariffs on these items specifically designed to get manufacturing back to the United States. It's a little bit like car insurance. It's a permanent weight on your bank account, but protects you in case of the unforeseen. Or relying on a centralized security force like the police and eschewing the expense of keeping a gun and training in its use. It might not be economically efficient from a short-term dollar perspective, but in terms of the well-being of your household, in this case applying that to the United States, it is a worthy use of funds because the costs of being completely unprepared for a home invader or a massive accident and where you end up in court and all those bills are far higher than what the nominal dollar amount of immediate outpouring of that money constitutes. Secondly, he's using tariffs as a negotiating tool. Trump wants Canada and Mexico to put resources to prevent both illegal aliens and fentanyl that is killing hundreds of thousands of Americans a year from pouring across our border. If they scoff at you, meaning the world leaders, as they did to Joe Biden, although I think that Biden was honestly encouraging it, then you have to be able to use whatever leverage you might have in order to protect the health of Americans as well as our sovereignty. And of course, Trudeau and company decided to act tough and threaten to impose similar tariffs against the U.S. meant to hurt our companies here as well, out of retaliation for what they felt was unfair to them. But threats of tariffs are akin to playing chicken in moving vehicles. Whoever swerves away first loses the game. You are both going to get hurt if there's a collision, but the smaller car is going to get annihilated. The U.S. is the steam engine locomotive to Canada's Toyota Prius. Talk all the crap you want, Trudeau, but you are going to hurt your country a lot worse than America's economy will be hurt. And Donald Trump knows this. He has the truck, the bigger car. Thus, because you are the bigger country, you have the ability to negotiate, and that's what he's doing. But even if, for example, the tariffs went through, and it means that there's less fentanyl coming in that is killing 100,000 Americans and youths a year, getting them hooked on that stuff, I think that it would be a reasonable price to pay And I personally, on a political level, could withstand higher prices for that reason. But what exactly happened? If you listen to the leftist propagandists on CNN, nothing did.
Quantify what the actual impact is here. For people saying, look, the market bounced back, no tariffs were put into place, Trump got what he wanted, all's well, we'll do this again in 30 days. Is that kind of the reality from an economic perspective?
I mean, I don't know what Trump wanted in this situation. Again, he didn't actually get anything. But if he were to put these tariffs in place, they would be very painful for American consumers. Okay, Scott. I mean, this is
the total lie.
This is public information.
He got what he wanted. He got an agreement from our neighbors to do more on the border. That's what he wanted, and he got it.
Exactly what they have already been doing.
I understand you're the minister of propaganda tonight, but you don't have to be. You could just say, "Hey, all's well that ends well." Here, come on.
If you don't know that these countries are committing to do exactly what they have already been doing, either you haven't done your homework or you think the American people are idiots. Because again, they're doing
option three. Donald Trump is enforcing what needs to be done at the border, which is more help from our friends. They are our allies and they are important people, but they need to help us, and they've not been helping us, and now they're going to help us even more.
They have been.
But the point is that it's also
ask every family with a fentanyl death how much they've been helping.
Scott, can I just ask you?
Well, they have done nothing more.
Scott, can I ask you though?
Of course, she's completely dishonest. The Canucks and Mexicans agreed in principle to Trump's demands. They bent the knee, thus delaying the hurt to either country. Basically, the Canadians and Mexicans realized the physics and weight of the respective economies was not exactly on their side, and they veered away. There was no collision. But Trump at least got a promise of what he wants to be implemented for Americans. Now, as for China, that collision could be worse should it happen. But Trump is using tariffs as a negotiation ploy and the leverage, and it obviously seems to be working. And yeah, he might have to at some point plow the U.S. economy into an organization or a country that truly believes that he is bluffing. And it might cost us Americans some money in the short run. But there are things like the lives of Americans and our national security whose immediate value cannot be measured only in terms of nominal dollars.